Hi, Roxaboxen fans. This week, I'm going to read to you a favorite story of mine. It's called The Story of Ferdinand by Monroe Leaf. So hang on, and here we go. Once upon a time in Spain, there was a little bull. His name was Ferdinand. All the other little bulls he lived with would run and jump and butt their heads together. But not Ferdinand. He liked to sit quietly and smell the flowers. He had a favorite spot out in the pasture under a cork tree. See him sitting there? And it was his favorite tree, and he would sit in the shade all day and smell the flowers. Sometimes his mother, who was a cow, would worry about him. She was afraid he would be lonesome all by himself. She does look worried, doesn't she? Yeah. Why don't you run and play with the other little bulls and skip and butt your head, she would say. But Ferdinand would shake his head. I like it better here, where I can just sit quietly and smell the flowers. His mother saw that he was not lonesome, and because she was an understanding mother, even though she was a cow, she let him just sit there and be happy. As the years went by, Ferdinand grew and grew until he was very big and strong. Look how big he is now. All the other bulls had grown up with him in the same pasture, and they would fight each other all day. They would butt each other and stick each other with their horns. What they wanted most of all was to be picked to fight at the bullfights in Madrid. Bullfights, Madrid. But not Ferdinand. He still liked to just sit quietly under the cork tree and smell the flowers. One day, 5 men came in very funny hats to pick the biggest, fastest, roughest bull to fight in the bull rings in Madrid. All the other bulls ran around snorting and butting their heads and jumping so the men would think that they were the strongest and the fiercest and pick them. But Ferdinand knew they wouldn't pick him, and so he didn't care. So he went out to his favorite cork tree to sit down and smell the flowers. But look at this. What do you suppose is going to happen? He didn't look where he was going to sit, and instead of sitting on a nice cool grass in the shade, he sat on a bumblebee. Well, if you were a bumblebee and a bull sat on you, what would you do? You would sting him. And that is just what this bee did to Ferdinand. Wow, did it hurt? Ferdinand jumped up with a snort. He ran around puffing and snorting, butting and pawing the ground as if he were crazy. The 5 men saw him, and they all shouted with joy. Here was the largest and fiercest bull of all, just the one for the bullfights in Madrid. So they took him away for the bullfight day in a cart. Here he goes. What a day it was! Flags were flying, bands were playing, and all the lovely ladies had flowers in their hair. They had a parade into the bull ring. First came the banderilleros with long, sharp pins with ribbons on them to stick in the bull and make him mad. Next came the picadores, who rode skinny horses, and they had long spears to stick the bull and make him madder. Then came the matador, the proudest of all. He thought he was very handsome and bowed to the ladies. He had a red cape and a sword and was supposed to stick the bull last of all. Then came the bull, and you know that was, don't you? Ferdinand. Look at him peeking out there. They called him Ferdinand the Fierce, and all the banderilleros were afraid of him, and the picadores were afraid of him, and the matador was scared stiff. Look at the sweat going down his face. Ferdinand ran to the middle of the ring, and everyone shouted and clapped because they thought he was going to fight fiercely and butt and snort and stick his horns around. But not Ferdinand. When he got to the middle of the ring, he saw the flowers in all the lovely ladies' hair, and he just sat down quietly and smelled, just like he did at home, right? Where he smelled all the flowers. He wouldn't fight and be fierce, no matter what they did. He just sat and smelled. And the banderilleros were mad, and the picadores were madder, and the matador was so mad he cried because he couldn't show off his cape and sword. So they just had to take Ferdinand home. There he goes. And for all I know, he is sitting there still under his favorite cork tree, smelling the flowers, just quietly. He is very happy. I like this book because it shows that Ferdinand was just Ferdinand, no matter where he went. He was just who he was. So you could take him out of the country and put him in the bull ring, take him from one community and put him in another community. But Ferdinand was just who he was, no matter where he went. And no matter who tried to change him to be somebody different, like a fierce bull, he was just true to who he was. He was just himself. And I like that story because of that. It tells us that it's good to just be who you are, no matter where you go. So I hope you enjoyed that story and have a nice week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.